Hello, and first of all, thank you for taking the time to watch this. It truly means the world to me. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Stay with me through my past stories and upcoming videos, because this one is unlike anything you've ever seen. I promise by the end of this, you'll be on the edge of your seat, wondering how far someone would go for freedom, love, and a second chance. My name is Lila, and what I experienced just 2 days before my wedding was nothing short of a nightmare. 2 days. That's all it took for everything I thought I knew about my life to crumble. It began with a message, a text that made my heart stop cold. My fiancé Ryan had been unfaithful. With my best friend Arya in my wedding dress. Yes, my wedding dress. The words blurred before my eyes, but the feeling was undeniable. Betrayal, disbelief, and a sharp, stabbing hurt. 2 years of planning, 2 years of trust, and now in an instant everything was gone. Ryan, ever the smooth talker, tried to justify it. Lila, it was just an accident. You're overreacting, he said with that same cocky half-smile I once loved. But I knew I could never marry someone who could betray me like this. Not in 2 days, not ever. My parents, of course, had invested heavily in the wedding. Every detail meticulously planned, every guest invited, every dollar accounted for. The pressure to comply was enormous, and I felt it pressing down on me from every angle. But I refused to let money dictate my life or force me into marrying a man who had destroyed my trust. And then, just when I thought the world had left me with no options, he appeared. Ajit, a stranger with a calm confidence and a piercing gaze that somehow cut through my chaos. He offered me an unbelievable deal. Marry him immediately and he would put $100,000 into my bank account that night. I laughed, then cried, then stared at him incredulously. Why would I do that? I asked, my voice shaking. Because, he said simply, it's your only way to escape this nightmare. Because freedom is worth more than any wedding, more than any dress, more than any betrayal. Before I even fully understood it, within 20 minutes and using nothing more than 2 plastic rings, we were at City Hall married. Ryan was furious, trying to intimidate and control the situation, but Ajit stood firm. He wasn't just protecting me, he was standing for my future, my freedom, and my dignity. That moment, seeing the courage in a complete stranger, was oddly comforting. But escaping Ryan didn't mean I was free of consequences. When I returned home, my parents were shocked. My mother's face twisted between worry and anger. Lila, you can't just, everything is planned. We have commitments, guests arriving, deposits paid. You can't cancel this wedding now. My father added the chilling ultimatum. If you leave now, all your financial resources, your credit cards, bank accounts, will be cut off. You will have nothing. I felt trapped between the life I had been planning and the life I now had to choose for myself. The walls of our family home suddenly seemed like a cage, each threat tightening the bars around me. Ajit reached out his hand. You don't need to divorce Ryan to gain independence. I can take care of you. I can give you what you need to survive and thrive. His words were like a lifeline. In that moment, I realized that even though I had lost control of one part of my life, I could reclaim another. The morning after our impulsive marriage, we found ourselves unloading crates at a small beachfront warehouse. It was exhausting work, heavy labor under the rising sun, but there was something oddly liberating about it. For the first time in days, I felt like I was doing something for myself, not dictated by others, not coerced, not trapped. I watched Ajit move with effortless strength and kindness, offering me a smile every time our eyes met. He was handsome, yes, but it was his heart I began to notice. The way he encouraged me, joked with me, and even insisted that I rest while he carried the heaviest crates. It made me question everything I had ever thought about love and protection. This beach, with its golden sand and perfectly clear water, felt like a sanctuary, a place where I could start over. And yet, freedom came with uncertainty. Ajit disappeared for several hours one afternoon, leaving me alone among the crates, feeling abandoned. The insecurity clawed at me, a reminder that my new life was fragile, uncertain. I even faced the ridicule of a passerby who mocked my situation. But despite the fear, a small ember of hope persisted in me. Ajit had promised protection, and deep down I believed he would return. And he did. With that calm, unwavering certainty in his eyes, he reassured me, "We belong together, Lila. Only with me. Only now." And for the first time I truly believed him. For the first time I felt safe even amidst the chaos. Later, Ajit shared pieces of his past with me. He spoke of his struggles to find someone who valued intelligence and character over appearance. He confessed to a minor theft, a diamond he had once taken, not as a criminal but as a desperate measure during a hard time. He worked hard now, loading crates and helping in a small restaurant, committed to supporting me and ensuring my independence. His honesty, his vulnerability, and his dedication were striking. It hit me then with the weight of certainty. Only true love could give me the strength to break free from betrayal and reclaim my life. Only someone who truly cared could stand by me, protect me, and inspire me to hope. Ajit had become more than a protector. He was a symbol of what life could be, real, imperfect, challenging, but full of possibility. As the sun set over the sparkling waves, I realized I had taken the first real step toward freedom. I didn't know what the future held, or what challenges tomorrow might bring. But I knew this: no one, not Ryan, not my family's pressures, not the chaos of life, could take away my courage. My heart was open, my spirit determined, and for the first time, I felt that love might just be the power I needed to move forward. And this, my friends, is just the beginning. The road ahead will test me, push me, and maybe even break me, but I will face it with my head held high, with Ajit by my side, and with a heart ready to embrace the love and freedom I deserve. The morning after our impulsive marriage, I woke to a world that felt completely unfamiliar. The smell of salt and sea air filled the small apartment near the beachfront, and for the first time in what felt like years, I wasn't waking up to someone else's plan or expectations. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the waves crashing rhythmically against the shore. Each wave felt like a heartbeat, reminding me that I was alive and that, finally, I was free. But freedom, as I quickly realized, came with its own burdens. My phone buzzed endlessly with calls and messages from family, friends, and even strangers who somehow knew the news. My mother's words were filled with panic and reproach. "Lila, you can't just throw everything away. Think about the family, the money, the commitments. You're making a huge mistake." My father's message carried a heavier weight, an ultimatum I couldn't ignore. "If you continue down this path, every financial resource you rely on, accounts, credit cards, allowances, will be cut off. You'll have nothing." I felt the walls closing in. The house that once felt like a home now seemed like a cage, its bars made of money, expectations, and unyielding control. For a moment I panicked, wondering if I had made a terrible mistake by escaping Ryan. But then Ajit appeared, his presence calm, confident, and reassuring. "Lila, you're not alone," he said softly. His eyes met mine, steady and unwavering, and for the first time that morning, I felt a spark of peace. He held out his hand, guiding me to stand, and together we left the apartment. We headed to the beach, to the small warehouse where we had started our first day of work. Today we unloaded crates together, a grueling, repetitive task under the scorching sun, but each drop of sweat and strain in my muscles felt strangely empowering. For the first time in my life, I was working for myself, not under anyone's orders, not dictated by someone else's plan or money. Ajit was there at every step, encouraging me, joking to lighten the fatigue and making sure I didn't overexert myself. As we worked, he shared fragments of his life, stories of struggles, missed opportunities, and lessons learned. He talked about the times he searched for someone who valued intelligence and character over appearance, someone who would see him for who he really was. I listened, mesmerized, as I realized that here was someone who truly understood the value of seeing another person's soul rather than their facade. Yet life wasn't simple even in this newfound freedom. That afternoon, Ajit disappeared for several hours, leaving me alone at the warehouse. As the sun beat down, the crates felt heavier and I felt an unfamiliar sting of loneliness. A passerby sneered, mocking my situation, and a wave of insecurity washed over me. But the ember of hope Ajit had ignited refused to die. I reminded myself of his words, of the promise that he would stand by me, and held on to that fragile thread of trust. When he returned, calm and composed, it was as if no time had passed. His gaze met mine, and the assurance in his eyes washed over me. "We belong together, Lila. Only us. Only now." I felt my shoulders relax, my heart steady, and for the first time in days I felt safe. Not just physically but emotionally, knowing that someone truly had my back. Later, as we rested on the sand, Ajit opened up about a part of his past I hadn't known. He admitted to a minor theft, a diamond he had once taken. not out of malice or criminal intent but desperation. He had since rebuilt his life through hard work, honesty and commitment. I realized then that what made him remarkable wasn't a perfect past, but his courage to face consequences, own his mistakes and move forward with integrity. Sitting there watching the sun dip into the horizon, I felt a strange sense of clarity. For the first time, I understood that only someone who truly cared, who valued freedom, trust and growth, could stand beside me and inspire me to hope again. Ajit wasn't just a protector. He was a symbol of possibility, a reminder that life could be messy, challenging and imperfect, yet still beautiful. The waves whispered against the shore and I knew this was only the beginning. I didn't yet know the obstacles ahead, nor the decisions I would have to make, but I did know one thing with absolute certainty. I was no longer a victim of circumstance. My heart was opening, my spirit unbroken, and love, real, raw, empowering love, was now a force guiding me forward. Chapter 2 ends with the first lesson of my new life etched deeply into my soul. Sometimes the people we least expect can teach us the most about strength, resilience and hope. Ajit had shown me that even when the world feels against you, choosing yourself and your freedom is the bravest act of all. The next morning, the sun rose in streaks of gold and pink, painting the beach in a beauty I would have never noticed 2 days ago. But despite the breathtaking view, my heart felt heavier than ever. Freedom had its price, and today I was beginning to understand just how steep it could be. After breakfast, Ajit suggested we return to the warehouse to organize and transport more crates. I nodded, silently grateful for his calm determination. As we walked along the sand, I could feel my muscles still sore from yesterday's work, yet a strange sense of satisfaction warmed me from within. For the first time I was learning that labor could be liberating. Every drop of sweat was a reminder that I was building something of my own, not living someone else's dream. Yet the shadow of my past refused to stay behind. My phone buzzed with another message from my mother. "Lila, this is insane. You can't just run away. The wedding is tomorrow. Come home. Think about your family." And as if the pressure from my parents wasn't enough, Ryan's presence lingered in the background, a phantom threat that I couldn't shake. Just knowing he existed, just knowing he could appear at any moment, kept my pulse on edge. We reached the warehouse and Ajit immediately took charge, organizing the crates with meticulous care. There was something in his movements, calm, confident and precise, that made me trust him instinctively. While he worked, I found myself stealing glances at him. His hands, rough from labor, moved with such control and purpose. His eyes, always alert, seemed to notice everything around him, including me. And, inexplicably, I felt a fluttering in my chest. I realized slowly that my admiration for him was growing into something much deeper. But freedom is rarely straightforward. As we lifted another crate together, a familiar voice shattered the fragile piece I had built. "Lila." I froze. My heart lurched violently. There, standing on the edge of the warehouse, was Ryan. His eyes blazing with anger, his fists clenched, and that smug, entitled smirk I once loved but now despised. "You think you can just run from me?" he shouted, taking a step forward. "You can't do this. You're mine." Ajit immediately moved between us, his stance protective but non-aggressive. "Back off, Ryan. This ends now. Lila is not yours to control," he said firmly, his voice steady yet commanding. I felt a surge of relief and gratitude, but fear still gripped me. Ryan's eyes flicked to the plastic ring on my finger, a symbol of our hasty marriage, and his expression darkened. "You think a piece of plastic changes anything? Your family will make you marry me tomorrow. You can't escape." Ajit stepped closer, putting himself fully between Ryan and me. "Lila made her choice. You have no right to threaten her. Leave or I will make you regret it." For the first time I truly understood the meaning of safety, not just physical but emotional. Ajit wasn't just protecting me from Ryan. He was defending my right to decide my own life. And in that moment I felt something shift inside me. I realized I could stand up for myself, not just run. Ryan's fury escalated, but eventually, with a parting glare, he turned and stormed away. My legs shook and I sank onto a nearby crate, trying to calm my racing heart. Ajit knelt beside me, placing a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "You were brave," he said softly. "You stood your ground. And that is the first step to real freedom." We spent the rest of the day in relative peace, finishing our work and walking along the beach as the sun began to set. The golden light danced across the waves, and for the first time in days, I allowed myself to imagine a life not ruled by fear. Later, as we shared a small meal in our modest apartment, Ajit opened up further about his past. He told me about the struggles that shaped him, the mistakes he had made, and the resilience that had brought him to this point. I listened intently, captivated not just by his words but by the honesty in his eyes. He admitted again to the diamond incident, not as a crime but as a desperate act in a moment of survival. And then he looked at me, his gaze unwavering. "Lila, I don't need you to forgive the past. I just want you to trust that I will be here and that I will fight to protect you not just today but every day." A wave of emotion surged through me, relief, gratitude, and an unfamiliar warmth that I realized was something like hope. For the first time I could believe that life could be different, that love could be more than words, and that freedom could coexist with safety. As the stars began to appear in the night sky, I reflected on everything that had happened in such a short span of time. Betrayal, fear, pressure, and sudden, unexpected salvation. All of it had collided to shape a new reality. And yet, despite the chaos, despite the uncertainty, I felt a small, firm conviction. I could survive this. I could build a new life, one that I controlled, one that I chose. Chapter 3 closes with the realization that freedom is not just escaping the past. It is facing it, confronting it, and choosing courage over fear. Ajit had shown me that strength could come from unexpected places, and that love, when paired with respect and honesty, could become the anchor that keeps you steady in life's storms. If you like, I can immediately move on to Chapter 4, where tension will rise further, new challenges will appear, and the emotional stakes will deepen, all while keeping readers fully hooked. The morning light filtered through the small blinds, casting long, thin stripes across the floor. I stretched, feeling the soreness from yesterday's labor, and a strange sense of anticipation bubbled inside me. Each day in this new life seemed like a test, a challenge I had no choice but to face, and I had discovered that the harder the challenge, the sweeter the tiny victories. Ajit was already awake, moving quietly through the apartment. I watched him from the doorway, noticing how effortlessly he managed the small space, how his hands, calloused from work, handled delicate things with care. He looked up and gave me that familiar, reassuring smile. "Morning, Lila. Ready for another day of freedom?" I smiled back, though my stomach twisted. Freedom had its own price: uncertainty, fatigue, and the constant shadow of the past. My parents had stopped calling for now, probably trying to calculate how to regain control. For Ryan was the storm I couldn't shake. The memory of him standing in the warehouse, eyes full of fury, still made my pulse quicken. We walked along the beach toward the warehouse, the sand warm beneath our feet. I felt the steady rhythm of the waves and the occasional cry of seagulls overhead, a natural reminder that the world, despite its cruelty, continued. The warehouse had become a strange sanctuary, a place where my body worked and my mind could begin to heal. But today wasn't going to be easy. As we approached, I noticed a small crowd gathered near the entrance. Curious and apprehensive, I moved closer and froze. There, at the edge of the crowd, was a familiar face. Arya, my former best friend. Her smile was smug, confident, and utterly infuriating. She hadn't changed. And there I was, standing in my new life, face to face with someone who had betrayed me so completely just days ago. "Lila," she called, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "I see you've moved on." Ajit stepped protectively in front of me, his stance calm but firm. "Step back. Don't even think about approaching her," he warned, his voice low but carrying an unmistakable edge of authority. I took a deep breath, trying to steady the anger rising inside me. Part of me wanted to scream, to unleash all the pain I had carried for the past 2 days. But another part, the part Ajit had helped me nurture, knew that giving in to fury wouldn't help me. Instead, I focused on my breathing, on the sound of the waves, on the steady presence of Ajit by my side. Arya took a step closer, a mocking glance at Ajit. "So this is him? The man who bought you out of your own wedding?" I felt a surge of shame and anger, but Ajit gently squeezed my shoulder. "Ignore her. She has nothing to do with your life now," he whispered. Her words stung, but I realized something profound. My freedom didn't depend on the opinions of others. The power she once held over me was gone. And for the first time I felt genuinely untouchable, not because no one could harm me but because I had chosen who I would allow into my life. And who I wouldn't. The rest of the day was long and grueling. We moved crates, organized shipments, and faced the heat of the sun. My body screamed in protest, but there was satisfaction in each completed task. With every crate we moved, every hour of labor, I felt stronger, not just physically but emotionally. Ajit worked alongside me, silently encouraging, joking occasionally to keep the mood light, and offering small acts of care that made me feel noticed and valued. That evening, as the sky bled into shades of orange and purple, we walked back along the beach. The cool sand under my feet, the gentle crash of the waves, the distant call of a lone gull. It all felt like a small miracle. I glanced at Ajit, who walked a little ahead, adjusting his cap against the fading sun. He turned, catching my gaze, and gave me that reassuring smile. "You're doing amazing, Lila. Look at how far you've come in just a few days," he said. I swallowed hard, feeling the lump in my throat. I never imagined I could feel this free, I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. Ajit's eyes softened. "Freedom isn't given, Lila. It's taken. And you're taking it every single day." For the first time I truly believed it. The past was still there like shadows on the sand, but it no longer controlled me. The storm of betrayal, pressure, and fear was still on the horizon. But for the first time I wasn't running. I was standing, ready to face whatever came next. As we reached the apartment, a new message flashed across my phone. A threat from Ryan, more aggressive than before. "You can't escape. I will make you regret this." I looked at Ajit, my resolve hardening. He squeezed my hand gently. "We'll face him. Together." And in that moment I realized something crucial. Freedom wasn't just about leaving the past behind. It was about standing strong in the present, claiming my right to live my life on my own terms, and having someone beside me who would fight with me, not for me but alongside me. Chapter 4 closes on a powerful truth. Strength is born in the storm, courage is forged through confrontation, and the love that supports and empowers us can be the anchor that keeps us steady, even when the past threatens to sweep us away. The sun had barely risen when I opened my eyes to another day in this strange, new reality. The gentle crash of waves was no longer just a soothing background. It had become a rhythm of survival, a steady pulse guiding me forward. But I knew that freedom, like the tide, was never calm for long. Storms were always waiting on the horizon. Ajit was already awake, preparing breakfast with quiet efficiency. His presence had become a kind of anchor, a reminder that amidst chaos, some things were steady, predictable, and reliable. I poured a cup of coffee, trying to brace myself for what I knew was inevitable: confrontation. Ryan wasn't going to leave me alone, and my family's pressures weren't going anywhere either. As we walked along the boardwalk toward the warehouse, I felt my chest tighten. Every step brought me closer to a day I could no longer avoid, where I would have to confront not only the people from my past but also the fears I had been running from. When we arrived, the familiar scent of crates and salt air greeted me. Ajit started organizing shipments, moving with a precision that made the work seem almost effortless. I tried to follow his rhythm, but my mind kept drifting, imagining the confrontation that might come if Ryan or my parents appeared unexpectedly. Then, as if summoned by my thoughts, a black car screeched to a stop near the warehouse. My stomach dropped. Ryan stepped out, his presence immediate and intimidating, but this time he wasn't alone. Beside him was my father, his face a mixture of anger and disappointment. "Lila," my father said, his voice cold, controlled, "you're making a terrible mistake. You will come with us or you will lose everything. We've invested too much in this wedding and your actions are unacceptable." Ryan smirked beside him. "You can't hide behind him forever, Lila. This ends today. You're mine." I felt the familiar spike of fear, but Ajit stepped forward, placing a steady hand on my shoulder. "No, she's not yours to control. She's not anyone's possession," he said, voice firm, unyielding. I felt a flicker of something I hadn't felt in years: courage. The fear didn't vanish, but it sharpened into determination. I straightened my shoulders and faced them both. "I am not marrying Ryan. I'm not going back. And I will not let anyone dictate my life for me." There was a tense silence, the kind that presses against your chest and makes every heartbeat audible. My father's face tightened and Ryan's smirk faltered. but Ajit remained calm, grounding me. "You've already made your choice, Lila. You're strong and I'll stand with you," he whispered, just loud enough for me to hear. Ryan lunged forward, trying to grab me, but Ajit intercepted him effortlessly, his stance protective yet controlled. I realized then that this was more than just physical safety. Ajit was shielding my autonomy, reinforcing that I could claim my life on my own terms. Eventually, Ryan and my father left, frustrated but unable to break our resolve. I sank onto a crate, heart racing, lungs burning with adrenaline. Ajit sat beside me, his hand steadying mine. "See," he said gently. "You survived. You are free and you are stronger than you realize." The rest of the day passed in a blur of physical labor and quiet reflection. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of crimson and gold, I realized something profound. Freedom wasn't just a physical state. It was mental, emotional, and spiritual. It was about claiming the right to make choices for myself, to fight for my happiness, and to embrace the people who truly supported me. Later that evening, Ajit and I sat on the beach, our legs dangling above the sand. He shared stories from his past, of struggles he had overcome, mistakes he had made, and lessons he had learned. I listened, captivated by his honesty, realizing that vulnerability wasn't weakness. It was a kind of power. He looked at me, eyes steady and sincere. "Lila, there will always be challenges. People will try to pull you back, to convince you that you can't choose your own life. But remember this: you are capable, brave, and deserving of love. And I will be here, not to control you but to stand with you as you claim it." I felt a warmth that went beyond attraction. It was trust, respect, and hope intertwined. I had discovered that love could be a source of strength, not a chain. And as I watched the waves crash under the moonlight, I knew that I was no longer the same Lila who had received that devastating text 2 days before her wedding. I had chosen freedom. I had chosen courage. And with Ajit by my side, I had begun building a life that belonged entirely to me. Chapter 5 closes with the realization that true independence isn't given, it's taken. It is forged through confrontation, courage, and the presence of people who empower rather than control you. And for the first time, I felt certain that I could face whatever storms lay ahead. The morning air was thick with the scent of salt and seaweed, and I realized that life had begun to settle into a rhythm, one I had never imagined possible. Every day brought hard work, small victories, and the constant push to redefine myself. But today felt different. Today the weight of the past pressed against me more than ever. I awoke to the soft hum of Ajit moving through the apartment. He had already prepared coffee, his quiet presence filling the space with the comforting steadiness I had come to rely on. I took a sip, savoring the warmth, and tried to steady the anxious flutter in my chest. Ryan had not disappeared from my mind. His threats lingered like a storm cloud, dark and menacing. We walked to the warehouse along the familiar path, the sand cool beneath our feet, and I noticed how the light of dawn painted the water in shimmering gold. The waves were relentless, much like my thoughts, pushing, pulling, never ceasing. When we arrived, the crates awaited us, stacked high in uneven piles. The work was grueling, but I found strength in the routine, in the repetitive rhythm that grounded me. Ajit worked beside me, steady, precise, and patient, his presence a silent promise that I would never face these challenges alone. But today was not just about labor, it was about trust. As we unloaded a particularly heavy shipment, a man appeared at the edge of the warehouse. His eyes scanned the crates, then landed on me. Something in his expression made my stomach twist. "Lila?" he called, his voice cautious, almost hesitant. I froze. My heart pounded. This was someone from Ajit's past, a colleague from the restaurant where he worked. I had learned over the past few days that Ajit's life was layered with complexity, and now I was about to witness one of those layers unfold. Ajit straightened, stepping protectively in front of me. "This is my friend Naveen. Lila, he's here to help us today." Naveen's presence was a mixture of reassurance and unease. I studied his face and sensed no malice, only concern, but I could feel Ajit's silent tension. There was history here, something unspoken yet palpable. We worked together, the three of us moving crates in coordinated effort. The physical labor kept my mind occupied, but subtle glances exchanged between Ajit and Naveen hinted at a story I didn't yet know. I trusted Ajit implicitly, yet curiosity gnawed at me. Who was this man, and what role would he play in the life I was slowly building? As the afternoon sun reached its peak, a sudden message buzzed on my phone. My parents. Their words were sharp and commanding. "Lila, return home immediately. You're out of control. You are dishonoring the family. Ryan is waiting." Fear surged, but I suppressed it, reminding myself that I had survived worse. Ajit noticed the tension in my body and squeezed my hand. "We'll face it together. One step at a time," he said, his eyes steady and unwavering. Later, as we rested on the sand, Ajit shared more of his past, including the mistakes that had led him here, and the lessons he had learned about trust, loyalty, and resilience. I listened, captivated, realizing that life was rarely neat or fair, yet it was in the chaos that strength emerged. Naveen lingered nearby, observing quietly, and I began to understand that Ajit's trust extended not just to me, but to the world around him. His ability to trust, even cautiously, inspired me to open myself further, not just to him but to the possibility of hope and connection in a world that had often been cruel. As dusk approached, painting the sky in fiery oranges and soft purples, I felt a sense of clarity I had not known before. Life would continue to challenge me, to test my courage and my resolve, but I was no longer the frightened woman who had received that devastating text days ago. I had discovered the power of choice, the strength in standing firm, and the profound importance of trusting those who had proven themselves worthy. Ajit was no longer just a protector, he was a partner, a guide, and a mirror reflecting the courage I sometimes forgot I had within me. Chapter 6 closes with a quiet yet powerful revelation. Trust, like freedom, must be earned and maintained, but when it is, it becomes a force that strengthens the spirit, steadies the heart, and allows hope to flourish even amidst uncertainty. The morning fog hung low over the beach, softening the edges of the world yet making everything feel heavier, uncertain. I could feel the weight of the past pressing in, a reminder that freedom is never guaranteed. It must be maintained, defended, and earned every single day. Ajit and I arrived at the warehouse, the air thick with the scent of salt and the faint tang of spilled coffee from our last shift. The crates waited, stacked in uneven towers like miniature mountains, each one a challenge in itself. I felt the familiar fatigue from days of labor, but also a quiet pride. Each box moved, each shipment organized felt like a small victory, a step toward independence and a life of my own choosing. We worked side by side, the rhythm of our tasks creating a strange sense of intimacy. Ajit's presence had become a steady pulse in my life, a reassurance that even in the chaos I wasn't alone. I found myself glancing at him more often, noticing the subtle strength in his hands, the quiet intensity in his eyes, and the warmth he exuded even in the harsh sun. My heart betrayed me with each look, reminding me that attachment was no longer something I could ignore. But peace, I had learned, is fragile. As we stacked another shipment, the sound of a car engine shattered the calm. My stomach dropped. Standing at the edge of the warehouse, a man I didn't recognize stepped out. His sharp suit and confident demeanor immediately signaled that he wasn't here for casual conversation. "Ajit," the man called, his voice smooth, controlled, and slightly menacing. "We need to talk." Ajit stiffened but didn't flinch. "Not here," he said quietly, his eyes scanning the area. "This isn't the place." The stranger ignored him, stepping closer. "You know why I'm here. And you know the consequences if we don't handle this properly." I felt a flicker of panic. Something in the man's tone told me this wasn't just a business matter. This was personal, and it involved Ajit's past. I could see the tension in Ajit's shoulders, the way his jaw tightened, and the rare uncertainty flickered in his eyes. "Lila," he whispered, taking my hand. "Stay calm. Trust me." I nodded, trying to steady my racing heart. Trust. That one word had become a lifeline these past days. But as the man's presence grew more intimidating, I realized that trust wasn't just about believing in someone. It was about having the courage to face the unknown alongside them. The man's gaze flicked to me briefly, assessing, calculating. Then he turned back to Ajit. "You owe us a debt, Ajit. And it's time to pay." Ajit's expression hardened, and I realized for the first time the full weight of the challenges he carried, not just for himself but for me as well. He wasn't just protecting me from my past or from Ryan. He was navigating dangers I hadn't yet understood. And yet, despite the fear creeping up my spine, I felt a surge of determination. I had survived betrayal, family pressure, and threats before. I could survive this too. We handle it my way, Ajit said firmly. No one hurts her. No one intimidates her. Understand? The man hesitated, then nodded reluctantly. This isn't over. As the engine roared and the man drove away, a strange calm settled over me. I realized that life would always bring threats, challenges, and reminders of the past. But freedom wasn't about living without fear. It was about standing tall in spite of it. Ajit turned to me, his hand still holding mine. Lila, you've been incredibly strong. I promise I will protect you from everything I can. But I need you to remember something. Courage is more than facing danger. Courage is choosing your life every day, even when it's hard. His words sank deep, mingling with the salt air and the sound of crashing waves. I felt my chest swell with something I hadn't felt in years: confidence, resilience, and the faint, exhilarating thrill of hope. That evening, as the sun set in brilliant streaks of red and gold over the horizon, we walked along the beach in silence. I felt the sand beneath my feet, the breeze on my skin, and the steady presence of Ajit beside me. My heart, once battered and uncertain, felt anchored. I knew the road ahead would be treacherous, that challenges would continue to appear in waves, relentless and demanding. But for the first time I understood something vital. I wasn't facing these storms alone. I had chosen my life, chosen freedom, and chosen a partner who would stand with me, not in place of me but beside me. Chapter 7 closes on the understanding that true freedom is both fragile and powerful. It is defended through trust, courage, and unwavering commitment, not just from those who protect us but from within ourselves. And in the darkness of uncertainty, love can become the guiding light that steadies the heart and inspires resilience. The night had been restless. I woke several times, the waves outside lapping gently against the shore, a rhythm that normally soothed me, but tonight it only mirrored my racing thoughts. Ryan's threats, my parents' ultimatums, and now Ajit's shadowed past all converged in my mind like a tempest I couldn't calm. I poured a cup of coffee and watched Ajit move quietly in the small apartment. He was calm, methodical, always precise. Even after all the chaos of the past days, he seemed unshakable. Watching him, I wondered how he carried such weight with such grace. Today, though, there was no escape from confrontation. We were heading to the harbor, where an important shipment needed our attention, and I knew that Ryan might make another attempt to confront me. My pulse quickened as we walked along the familiar sand path, each step a reminder that my life had been irrevocably altered. When we arrived, the crates were stacked higher than usual, creating a maze of wooden towers. As Ajit and I began our work, the sun rose, painting the sky in streaks of pink and gold, a deceptive calm over the tension that hung in the air. And then I saw him, Ryan, emerging from behind a cluster of shipping containers, his face a mask of fury. He wasn't alone. My father trailed behind him, stern and unyielding, their presence a living embodiment of the pressure I had been trying to escape. Lila, Ryan barked, striding toward me. You can't do this. You're mine and you're coming with us, now. Ajit moved instantly, placing himself between me and Ryan. His presence was calm but authoritative, a solid barrier that Ryan could not cross. Step back. This ends today, he said, voice low but firm. I felt fear spike, but a strange, unexpected clarity washed over me. I didn't have to run anymore. I didn't have to hide. I could face this head-on and I could fight for my freedom, not with violence but with determination. I am not going back, Ryan, I said, my voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through me. I am not your possession. I am my own person and I will not let anyone dictate my life. Ryan sneered, stepping closer, but Ajit's hand on my shoulder held him at bay. You've made your choice, Ajit said quietly, and I will stand with her. If you value anything, you will leave. The tension stretched, a taut wire ready to snap. For a moment I thought Ryan might attack, but something in Ajit's unwavering gaze, and in my own newfound courage, gave him pause. Slowly he backed down, fury still burning in his eyes, but powerless against our resolve. My father, seeing the defiance in me and the strength in Ajit, finally turned, frustration evident, and left. I sank onto a crate, chest heaving, adrenaline buzzing. Ajit knelt beside me, brushing a strand of hair from my face. You were incredible, he said softly. You didn't flinch. You stood your ground. I realized in that moment that courage wasn't the absence of fear, it was action in spite of it. And love, real love, was not possession or control. It was support, respect, and standing together through the chaos. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, painting the waves in gold and crimson, we walked along the beach in silence. The sand was cool beneath my feet, the breeze gentle, and the world felt both immense and intimate at the same time. I thought of all that had led me here: betrayal, pressure, fear, and the unexpected gift of Ajit's presence in my life. He looked at me, eyes steady and unwavering. "Lila, whatever comes next, whatever storms approach, remember this. You are brave, capable, and deserving of love. We will face everything together." I nodded, a smile breaking through the tension. I felt hope, fragile yet undeniable, weaving through me. The future was uncertain, but I knew I could navigate it, hand in hand with someone who believed in me, and whose presence reminded me that I was never alone. Chapter 8 closes with a powerful truth. Courage is born in confrontation, trust is forged in shared struggle, and freedom is not simply the absence of chains, but the presence of love, respect, and unwavering support. The night had been restless. I woke several times, the waves outside lapping gently against the shore, a rhythm that normally soothed me, but tonight it only mirrored my racing thoughts. Ryan's threats, my parents' ultimatums, and now Ajit's shadowed past all converged in my mind like a tempest I couldn't calm. I poured a cup of coffee and watched Ajit move quietly in the small apartment. He was calm, methodical, always precise. Even after all the chaos of the past days, he seemed unshakable. Watching him, I wondered how he carried such weight with such grace. Today, though, there was no escape from confrontation. We were heading to the harbor, where an important shipment needed our attention, and I knew that Ryan might make another attempt to confront me. My pulse quickened as we walked along the familiar sand path, each step a reminder that my life had been irrevocably altered. When we arrived, the crates were stacked higher than usual, creating a maze of wooden towers. As Ajit and I began our work, the sun rose, painting the sky in streaks of pink and gold, a deceptive calm over the tension that hung in the air. And then I saw him, Ryan, emerging from behind a cluster of shipping containers, his face a mask of fury. He wasn't alone. My father trailed behind him, stern and unyielding, their presence a living embodiment of the pressure I had been trying to escape. "Lila!" Ryan barked, striding toward me. "You can't do this. You're mine and you're coming with us, now." Ajit moved instantly, placing himself between me and Ryan. His presence was calm but authoritative, a solid barrier that Ryan could not cross. "Step back. This ends today," he said, voice low but firm. I felt fear spike, but a strange, unexpected clarity washed over me. I didn't have to run anymore. I didn't have to hide. I could face this head-on, and I could fight for my freedom, not with violence but with determination. "I am not going back, Ryan," I said, my voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through me. "I am not your possession. I am my own person, and I will not let anyone dictate my life." Ryan sneered, stepping closer, but Ajit's hand on my shoulder held him at bay. "You've made your choice," Ajit said quietly, "and I will stand with her. If you value anything, you will leave." The tension stretched, a taut wire ready to snap. For a moment I thought Ryan might attack, but something in Ajit's unwavering gaze, and in my own newfound courage, gave him pause. Slowly he backed down, fury still burning in his eyes, but powerless against our resolve. My father, seeing the defiance in me and the strength in Ajit, finally turned, frustration evident, and left. I sank onto a crate, chest heaving, adrenaline buzzing. Ajit knelt beside me, brushing a strand of hair from my face. "You were incredible," he said softly. "You didn't flinch. You stood your ground." I realized in that moment that courage wasn't the absence of fear, it was action in spite of it. And love, real love, was not possession or control. It was support, respect, and standing together through the chaos. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, painting the waves in gold and crimson, we walked along the beach in silence. The sand was cool beneath my feet, the breeze gentle, and the world felt both immense and intimate at the same time. I thought of all that had led me here: betrayal, pressure, fear, and the unexpected gift of Ajit's presence in my life. He looked at me, eyes steady and unwavering. "Lila, whatever comes next, whatever storms approach, remember this. You are brave, capable, and deserving of love. We will face everything together. I nodded, a smile breaking through the tension. I felt hope, fragile yet undeniable, weaving through me. The future was uncertain, but I knew I could navigate it, hand in hand with someone who believed in me, and whose presence reminded me that I was never alone. Chapter 8 closes with a powerful truth. Courage is born in confrontation, trust is forged in shared struggle, and freedom is not simply the absence of chains, but the presence of love, respect, and unwavering support.